Welcome back to 10 Minutes with Nick. I'm Nick, the one and only. Or two and only, depending on how many cameras you're looking at. I'm looking at two right now, so I see there's three of me in the room, which is weird. We're all talking at the same time. It's very hard to get a word in edgewise. Don't worry, I'll sort through the noise for you. 10 Minutes with Nick. I ramble for 10 minutes. You like it, you subscribe. You don't like it, you go take a short walk off a tall building. Don't do that. Please don't do that. I love you. Don't take a short walk off a tall building. That's also not even, it's not even the correct joke. It's take a long walk off a short plank. No. So, I can't even get the joke right, so we're just going to move on. Anyways. Today I want to do 10 minutes on actors and writers and the relation therefrom. It's a little bit timely because obviously the writers are on strike and the actors are about to go into their own negotiations. What prompted this post is something called the Hollywood Roundtable. Now, the Hollywood Roundtable is hosted by The Hollywood Reporter, which is a magazine. And I don't even know if it's a magazine anymore. I don't know if magazines exist. I would love to get a magazine in the mail, but nobody sends them to me. Don't send me magazines. You can't find me anyway, and don't send them to me. Anyways, I went to get my magazine, my Hollywood Reporter. I then remembered I don't get magazines in the mail anymore, and I went to Instagram. And on Instagram, they had a clip from the most recent Hollywood Roundtable, and Jenna Ortega was the one who was in this clip. She was talking about her show, Wednesday Addams. Wednesday. The name of the show is Wednesday. It's about Wednesday Addams. And Jenna Ortega, the lead actress of that show, says she's really excited for season 2 when she's going to come back as an actor and a producer. Now, a producer includes a lot more creative control. And that's exciting for a lot of actors because they feel as though they've never had control in their lives. It's an interesting phenomenon. But with this greater control, she feels like she'll be able to more effectively add her voice to the creative process. And as she says, point 1, more creative voices leads to better creative output. We'll address this point. And she went on to say that she felt that in other parts of the TV world, that her voice had been shut out because she simply didn't understand it because she was, quote, not a writer. Point 2. Should actors be shut out because they don't get the writing process? We'll address both these points. Point 1. I think it's a little simplistic to say that more creative voices will lead to better creative output. Why? Well, simply put, you can have too many cooks in the kitchen. And if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, a meal isn't going to get made. In the same way, you can have too many creative voices on set. You can. Because creative people are wonderful. The things they come up with, they could bounce ideas off each other all day, every day, and come up with these amazing ideas. But you know what? At some point, something has to get done. You have to film. You have to go from idea to reality. And that means, partially, having an actual finished script that you can film. And if you have too many people inputting into the script, you don't really have a script. You have a mishmash of ideas moving in a somewhat linear format. That's never a good thing. You want to have one person sort of controlling that process and saying at the end of the day, okay, we're going this way. I've heard the opinions. We're going this way. We're going that way. Or I'm not hearing any more opinions. Or we're not changing this. Somebody has to say that. Stamp out people. Not stamp out people. And not dismiss people without a good reason. And a good reason is simply, we don't have enough time to listen to this. That's a good reason. A good reason is not, well, you're a child. Well, you're young. Well, you're a woman, you wouldn't understand. Those aren't good reasons. But a good reason is, kid, I don't have enough time to listen to this. Say your lines. Which leads us directly into point 2, which is what she was concerned about. Part of her concern with being shut out of the creative process was the idea that her voice was not going to be heard, her voice was going to be shut out because she wasn't a writer, and that worried her because she didn't just want to be a puppet on set. She wanted to have a creative voice. Now, all actors have a voice. It's in the performance. It's how the script is brought to life. So you don't have to wed yourself to any of the activity in the script, really, except for the dialogue. The dialogue is what's key. Here's a good rule of thumb to keep in mind. If you would go act in a play, and you wouldn't say to the playwright, hey, this is great, but I'm going to change a few words. It's not how that works. If I were to do Four Dogs and a Bone in a theater, and John Patrick Shanley were to come up to me and say, hey, how are you enjoying the play? I'd say, it's been great so far. I've loved working on this with you. I had a couple really great ideas for my character to say. He would laugh in my face, and rightly so. He's the playwright. If you wouldn't say, I want to change dialogue to a playwright, don't say it to a writer. And yes, the comment of, you wouldn't understand you're not a writer is probably a tad dismissive. It's phrased dismissively, but is it wrong? The dismissiveness of it is, yes. You can't just brush somebody off like that. That's number one, just rude. And it's condescending. But television writing is more than just being creative. It's highly technical. And on top of that, most TV writers are pretty highly trained. Like, they've spent a long time punching up their scripts and spending a lot of time in really shitty jobs getting trained so that this is what they do. They know what they're doing. They're on strike right now because they know what they're doing for a reason. They're mad that they're not getting paid enough for a reason. So if an actor goes to a writer and says, hey, I'm going to change up a few lines of dialogue, the actor doesn't know what the effect of that is. It might change a scene 10 pages away, and the actor, like on a different shooting day, and the actor may not know it, or the actor may not be thinking in that way. But the writer, that's the writer's job. He or she is thinking about that and wrapping all that in. So I think it's a little tough, and that's the thing, a lot of actors want this, right? A lot of actors want to have this kind of power. They want to be able to just jump in and say, I'm going to do whatever I want. Robert Downey Jr. does this with relative frequency. He gets away with it. It's not a crime, but he does get away with it. Now, Robert Downey Jr. is Robert Downey Jr. Good luck firing him. Also, he's big. Also, he's really effing good at it. Like, if you're an actor and you're going to shoot your shot in that way, you best not miss. And he don't miss. But just because he doesn't miss doesn't mean it's a good rule of thumb for all actors. Especially, perhaps, not actors who... I'd have to research this. I don't know if this is her first producer credit or not, but she's only 20 years old. I would imagine it's one of her early producer credits. She's had a long career already at 20 years old, but again, age is age, and nobody's going to make a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old a producer, or at least very rarely. I say this not to demean Miss Ortega. She's a much better actress than I am. She's a much better actor than I am. She's a much better actress, quite literally, because I don't fit the definition. She's also a much better actor because she is quite highly skilled. Quite highly skilled, highly respected, accoladed, rightly so. And I know she's had a lot of creative control up to this point through Tim Burton. But there's the thing, other actors who might be thinking that this is a good time to latch on with your arguments. She has Tim Burton in her corner. He is mentoring her. And I'm not saying that because Tim Burton gives her legitimacy she otherwise wouldn't have. I'm saying if Tim Burton sees her talent and says, "Oh, you do have the talent for this," that's different than your dumbass on set going, "Hey, Mr. Writer, I want to change a few lines." I'm a first-time writer. And I had highly accomplished actors coming to me and talking about the character. And when I said, "Hey, listen, this is a pilot presentation. I'm totally okay with it if you guys want to play with the dialogue," they looked at me like I had just given them a Christmas present. I had never written anything before. And they still respected the writer enough to talk about the character and make sure that they were carrying out what the writer envisioned. Actors, you may not want to be puppets, but your talent is the puppetry. Be a great puppet, because your job is to find ways to make your performance bring the writer's words to life. They are not your words. That writer slaved over those words. Use those words. If you want to add your own words, you best not miss. Because when you do, you ain't going to be our DJ. I rambled for 12 minutes. It's my show. I can get away with it. See you next time. 10 Minutes with Nick.